We're finally in October. What does that mean? Postseason baseball. The Dodgers unable to go and win as the NL West champions, but they have to face off against the St. Louis Cardinals. What are we looking at? What's the pitching matchup going to look like? Find out in the next edition of Sideline Sports Podcast. Welcome to Sideline Sports Podcast. If you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast. Wow, does it feel good to be back on the weekly grind. It feels amazing to be back with you guys. We apologize for leaving you guys in the dark, but you know what? We've got a great episode coming up for you guys. I'm Alex Naveja from Sideline Sports Podcast via Sideline Sports Media. If you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast, a source of your SoCal sports news. And as always, alongside of me tonight, he is the all-around soccer insider, but don't sleep on him. Knows everything you need to know about SoCal sports. Jose Duran. Jose, how's it going, man? And you know what? I know it's been a long time since I've seen you, but I know you've been busy and I know you've been grinding. How's it going?
It's been good, Alex. It feels good to be back talking to you all, talking about sports, but even better, it's October time. That means there's so much to talk about, so much to cover. There's NFL season that just started, MLS season that's wrapping up. There's MLB postseason, which is what we're going to be talking about, which is great to go ahead and get with you. That I know that we have a lot to go ahead and cover here, but it feels good to be back. It feels good to talk to you once again, and it feels good to be back on this grind.
Absolutely, folks. And we're going to do our very best to still give you guys weekly content coming at you. And who can sleep on the NHL preseason that's going on as well? It's going to be a very busy fall and winter coming at you guys. But you know what? Let's go straight to the business. Jose, we've got a lot to talk about. Let's first talk about the San Diego Padres. And I'm going to say straight forward with it. Disappointment. My prediction was always that the San Diego Padres were not going to make the postseason going into September. They had the talent, they have the pitching, they have the lineup, they had the bullpen. No chemistry, wasn't getting it done. And I believe there was issues with the manager, which is why Jace Tingler is no longer going to be the manager of the Padres. Thoughts, Jose?
You know, you said it. I remember when we started talking about this a couple of months ago, where they're going to go, and you took the whole route where the Padres were not going to make the playoffs, and I took the route that they were going to make the playoffs because of the talent that they have. You know, the talent that they had out there, they should have made the playoffs. The way they started this season, it was red hot for them to go ahead and make the playoffs. But the way they went out, I mean, it's baseball. You know how baseball goes. It's either hot or you're not, and they were not hot. Especially when they needed to go ahead and wake up those bats. It seemed like they had problems internally when we saw that Machado and Tatis confrontation going on as well. Managerial problems, San Diego Padres front office problems in general. Horrible season, probably the worst season in Padres recent history, I would say, even though they've had a lot of bad seasons. But this one, in terms of expectations, horrible for San Diego. But in terms for the Dodgers, it even affected them the way the Padres season ended, because it ended costing the Dodgers the division and now having them play in a wild card game.
And I'm going to go ahead and go back and use the time machine right now. If you folks remember the Padres going back a couple of years, I believe it was 2015, the Padres made a handful of trades to try to get themselves to be the contenders and try to make things happen. I remember they got Matt Kemp, they got Heath Bell, and quite a few changes, and they made a lot of trades, try to be that contending team, trade away a lot of prospects and such, and that didn't even happen. And I believe that's just exactly what happened once again when the San Diego Padres made all these trades. They made all these moves to try to make things happen. And what do you know? It still ends up being a disappointment. It doesn't matter. If you finish above 500, this is supposed to be a team that was supposed to beat the Dodgers, be the NL West champions.
Yeah.
We're supposed to go to the World Series, and we're supposed to be the champions because they went all out in the offseason to get Darvish, to get Blake Zilla, to go all out, and then they got Mark Melancon as well. It's just deja vu all over again. Deja vu all over again. So now if you're the Padres, you got to do something about Eric Hosmer because that was some issues going on and off the field. They were trying to trade him away. Took that very personally, which is understandable. And Jay Stingler, too much team. Way too much for him to handle. Not the right manager for the right team, if you ask me. But if you want to talk about a team that's going in red hot, got to talk about both the Dodgers and the Padres going into this NL wild card. And quite frankly, it's not going to be easy for either team. No matter how you put it, not going to be easy for the Dodgers, not going to be easy for the Cardinals.
It's a coin flip. That's a wild card game for you. It's a coin flip. It could go either way. I don't care if you have the best roster, which the Dodgers have a better roster than the Cardinals do. I don't care if you have the better team play by player. It doesn't matter. It's 9 innings. It's 27 outs. It could go either way. I've seen wildcard teams that no one expected anything to happen eliminate the number one contender team. It's happened throughout other sports, but specifically in baseball. In baseball, it's a coin flip when it comes to the wild card. So I wanted the Dodgers to go ahead and get the division. But it's those little games that you lose throughout the regular season that end up costing the Dodgers. The Giants seem like they're a more molded team to have made the playoffs, and they deservingly win the division. But it's a scary thought, and not to talk about even the pitching matchup. Adam Wainwright and the history of the Cardinals. The Cardinals scare the crap out of me, Alex, because of what they've done to the Dodgers in the past. And added to that, it's just a one-game elimination. It's not a series. I'm not that much confident, I feel like, as I should be, heading into a one-game series with this great of a Dodger team. But they've gotten themselves in this situation to be playing the wildcard game.
No doubt. The Dodgers should have won some games against the San Francisco Giants. They let a couple of games slip away during the regular season. And this is what the Dodgers get in those efforts for not closing down the full 9. The Kenley Jansen woes. I know you know what I'm talking about as far as the Kenley Jansen woes, unable to close down games against San Francisco Giants. But now you've got yourself a pretty tough matchup going against the St. Louis Cardinals, who don't look at them for the record. Look at them because of how well the Cardinals play against the Dodgers and just the history there. And not too long ago, the Cardinals went on a nice little winning streak too. I believe it was 16 or 19 games straight. 17. That's wild. So
17.
The fact that they go 17 straight, it's wild. It's all about who's the hottest team. What do you have it or do you not?
Yeah, but I honestly think that kind of goes out the window, that 17 game winning streak for them, because they didn't close out the season the way it should have. They almost just ended up the last 6 games, I think 3-3. I'm not what the record was, but they didn't end up closing the season as hot as the Dodgers have. They both, in the last games, I think St. Louis went 19-4, the Dodgers went 18-3. But now all of that goes out the window. Like I mentioned right now, it's going to be just 27 battle outs. And if you would have told me 3 weeks ago, or even 3 weeks ago, even 2 weeks ago, how do you feel about Max Scherzer going, Big Max going into with the Dodgers as the starting pitcher? I'm all great for it. A lot of people, even myself, said him over Walker Buehler, even though the season Walker Buehler was having. But now it's been 10 innings. He's given about 10 earned runs, and I know one of those games as it was in Colorado. No pitcher does good in Colorado. But things to go ahead and take in consideration. It's not the same hot Max Scherzer that was coming into the regular season 3 weeks ago. But now they're facing a pitcher in Adam Wainwright and just the St. Louis Cardinals teams who were talented inside and out. They have Paul Goldschmidt as well, who is a really great, talented hitter. And they're just in general a great team to be afraid of. And, obviously, once it gets to the later innings, if it's close game and it's canning time, Dodgers fans are going to have their heart beating very, very fast.
It's going to be beeping and bumping very fast, if you ask me. I love the pitching matchup as far as Max
Yeah.
Scherzer, Adam Wainwright. You've got a 37-year-old facing off against a 41-year-old, two veterans of the game, both very disgusting, both very nasty. I wouldn't have minded the lone 20-game winner in Julio Urias to be able to throw the
Yeah.
mound, but just throw on Sunday. And of course, received the reports from Jorge Castillo that he will be available to throw on in the wild card game. So he'll be more than likely be coming out of the bullpen. But how about the loss of Clayton Kershaw and the other
Uh,
Max Muncy? That's not going to be there as well. How do you think this is going to affect the Dodgers in this one?
I mean, huge. I mean, more so the Max Muncy part of it. I think for Clayton Kershaw, he had already fallen off the rotation as much for the Dodgers, where it wouldn't have been as much as an impact as he would have been a couple of years ago, obviously, when Clayton Kershaw was the Clayton Kershaw that was untouchable. Having said that, I think Max Muncy part of it is huge. We were talking about a couple weeks ago, too, Max Muncy and the MVP race, the kind of season he was having. But overall, I think the Dodgers are well situated. But the big question is also who are you going to put in the outfield, right? There's Gavin Lux. Well, he's going to be. Was he going to be in the outfield? Are you going to put Trey Turner? That he could be an alternate choice out there because the way Cody Bellinger has been playing, not so sure anybody even wants him in the lineup. He's had some flashes of the old Cody Bellinger. You know, the Dodgers going into this postseason have a lot more question marks than answers. And I think that's going to affect them in the long run. Even if they get through this wild card game, it seems like the Giants are the team to destiny. The Dodgers have a lot more questions. It's going to be very difficult for them to go ahead and get past this wild card game. And if they get past it, to get past the Giants and even to the World Series.
It's going to be a challenge. I have to agree. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a challenge for the Dodgers. But the good thing about the Dodgers is that they're not exactly in a really bad position, if you ask me. Reason being is because you have three candidates for first base. You can put Matt Beatty. You could put
Yeah.
El Tío Alberto. Who can forget El Tío Alberto? And you could put Bellinger there at first, even though he has struggled defensively there at first. A lot of errors lately, especially some key errors over at San Fran, and even in the outfield as well. You put Pollock in the corner outfield position, Betts in the other corner outfield position, and then center field you could put Cody Bellinger there as well. Or there's a lot of ways you can shuffle it, or if you can even put Gavin Lux in left maybe, and then put Pollock in center, just like his old Diamondback days, and keep Mookie in right, or even put Mookie in center. But I think you could put Pollock there in center. But I think what they're going to end up doing is keep Bellinger at center and then put El Tío Alberto there at first. I think that's going to be the main thing that's going to, I think that's the most sense for him to make.
That's the scary part. But just to briefly touch upon what you just said, all the positioning players, I'm 100 with you. And if I was to put up first baseman, I'll put Beatty in first base. I think he's getting extremely hot to end the postseason. And you got to go with Cody in the center field, no matter how cold his bats are. I feel like you can't risk getting a ball hit to Gavin Lux, him mistiming it just because he doesn't have the experience out there and getting inside the park corner. It'll cost you defensively.
All right, I'm going to put you in the hot seat now, Jose. What's your final score? Who do you have passing?
Final score, I think Dodgers take care of this one. Close game, 3-1. Some way, somehow, they're gonna have us sweating like they always do. I feel like for every other fan out there, it's like, oh, it's a regular postseason. But for actual Dodger fans like us, it's the hot seat. They're gonna make us sweat. It's gonna be a close one. I think they advance 3-1 and make their way to the next round and fade the San Francisco Giants. What about you, Alex?
I'm going to say 6-3, and to be quite honest with you, I thought about it all day. What's my final score on this one? And it's going to be the Dodgers. It's going to come down to Max Scherzer. He's going to have a heck of a game, but towards the back end of his start, the Cardinals are going to get the hang of him. I'm going to say once he goes through the lineup, maybe a third time, I think the Cardinals are going to start to hit him. That's where they have to swap him out and start using some of the bullpen. They're going to have to incorporate Alex Vesia, going to have to incorporate Trinan, they have to use maybe Julio Urias. Maybe you do, maybe. But, of course, you might have to use Kenley Jansen in that one as well. But can't sleep on the Cardinals offense that they have. I mean, to have Tyler O'Neill, he's been a huge piece to that offense. Carlson's been very good, of course. Yadi Molina, how can you sleep on Yadier Molina? He's such a boss there. And, of course, Paul Young, the shortstop. They've got a plethora of offensive weapons, and of course the bullpen as well. Gallegos has been a pretty dominant closer for the Cardinals, so you don't want to be trailing against the Cardinals, in this wild card game, because if you're trailing, might be tough to come back. Just got to say that.
No, and then my pick is obviously with the Dodgers, but it's not a confident pick. like I said, I've been saying the whole time here, wild card games are a coin flip. I don't care if you have the better team player by player. You play 27 outs. It could just go one way. It could be a close game. It could be a one-run game. Your bats could just go cold, and it's only going to come down to just 27 outs. It's the most scariest thing. We're going to find out what happens tomorrow. The Yankee fans, the Red Sox fans are actually going through that as we speak. So I do not want to go ahead and be there. We are going to be there, unfortunately, though. But it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be a great atmosphere in Dodger Stadium. Alex, fans are going to be back at Dodger Stadium for a postseason game once a game. It can't get better than that.
No more posted little pictures or anything. It's real live fans. They're going to light it up. It's going to be a sold-out crowd there tomorrow. I know everybody, make sure to have your vaccination cards. Everybody, I know it's a little too late to get your negative test, but have all those things ready for tomorrow's game. It's going to be a good one. I believe they're going to be streaming it from TBS. It's a 5 o'clock Pacific time, first pitch time. Or for all you East Coast fans, it's going to be an 8 o'clock Eastern time, first pitch time on that one. But that's all we have left here on Sideline Sports Podcast. We thank you all so much for tuning into this one. If you guys liked this episode, please give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button down below. We are just getting back into the grind, folks. And of course, Jose and I want to hear what you guys' predictions are. So comment down below who you think is going to win this wild card game, and maybe we can even get some predictions on who's going to go to the World Series, or we'd like to get you guys' take. So just comment down below. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. So thank you so much for tuning into this one. Go down to our description below. Follow us on all of our social media platforms as well. We'll make sure to keep you guys updated on everything. And once again, the man alongside of me, Jose Duran, all-around soccer insider, and knows all about his SoCal sports. Jose, as usual, man, thanks so much for coming on.
My pleasure, Alex. It felt great to go ahead and get back on with you, talking sports, getting into it. Exciting time around Southern California with all the sports going on, but specifically this episode with the Dodgers. And in case you need a rapid test, 911, they're doing it in Plaza Mexico. They'll give you the results in 15 minutes right in front of the Domino's. So if you're in the Linwood area or around the area and you need a rapid test, to go ahead and get you out to Dodger Stadium, Plaza Mexico, in 15 minutes. That's it, Alex. But thank you so much for having me again and coming out here again, talking to you about Dodger baseball. It's great to be back. Sideline Sports, we're back in action.
Gotta love the rapid test, because they do need those negative tests in order to get into Dodger Stadium. So any of you Cardinals, Dodger fans, I know there's a lot of you guys that are going to be in LA tomorrow. Make sure to get those tests in or have your vaccination cards ready to tune into that one. I'm Alex Naveja from Sideline Sports Podcast, the host of Sideline Sports Podcast via Sideline Sports Media. Thank you so much for tuning into this one, everybody. Have a good night and enjoy the October baseball, the best type of baseball.